Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir Al-Azouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we will try to really make you experts or really geeks in terms of post-marketing surveillance for medical devices. So we'll see that it's not only European Union, but maybe also other regions. And for that, I invited, apparently we call her like that, so the post-marketing surveillance or PMS Queen, which is Natasha Bankowski. So Natasha is the head of Global Regulatory Affairs and Pharmacovigilance at Kora Healthcare. So she will be our guest today, and she will really tell us everything regarding, everything. What high-level information regarding the post-marketing surveillance, and we'll talk also about her intervention at the TOPRA Symposium that will happen in October this year. So, Natasha, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Hello, Munir. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to the Medical Device podcast. I've listened to your previous ones, and they're brilliant, so very useful. My name is Natasha Bankowski. I'm head of Regulatory Affairs and Pharmacovigilance for Kora Healthcare. It's a small Irish company based in Dublin. We manufacture medicines, medical devices, and food supplements. So I look after all of the products we have, so medicines, devices, and food supplements, which is a huge challenge. And the MDR has only made my life more difficult along with Brexit. So I hope to be able to answer lots of questions that people may have in relation to post-market surveillance, or even for people that don't have a lot of information on post-market surveillance or not sure what it is, just to try and guide them simply to what really post-market surveillance means.
No, it's great. So thank you for that. And let's start first with the first question, which is the easiest one, I think, maybe the most difficult one, because maybe you can speak hours about it. So it's for the audience, what exactly is post-marketing surveillance? What should we understand when we are talking about post-marketing surveillance?
Okay, so this is not easy to explain, but I'm going to try and put it simply. So when the device hits the market, post-market surveillance is anything that's carried out from as soon as you hit the market, whether that be your vigilance, which is your complaints, your field safety corrective actions, whether it be literature review, whether it be checking databases like MOD, which is the FDA database, to look at competitor products, in-house testing, feedback from distributors, customers, feedback in relation to the device from any aspect carried out, whether it be customer surveys, online databases. So all of this is post-market surveillance. I suppose one of the big challenges about post-market surveillance is the post-market clinical follow-up study, which is also part of post-market surveillance. So this is also a proactive process that you need to carry out or justify why you're not carrying it out.
So just related to that, so as you mentioned, there is, all the list that you provided here is really huge. Do you think that we need a big team to do that, or it's possible to do that with only one person?
The problem is that no matter if you work in the small, the medium, the multinational companies, which I have worked in each of these and have obviously had the requirements of post-market surveillance, it's very difficult, and no, it's not possible for one team. It's really, really important for all personnel to be trained across multifunctional teams in post-market surveillance, and it's very important that everybody understands and feeds into it, because this feeds into the risk management system, it feeds into the quality management system, it feeds into the clinical evaluation reporting system, any studies that R&D needs to carry out to ensure the safety, the quality of the device. Also, from a personal experience, getting feedback from the market is quite difficult sometimes. So we really rely on our sales representatives or our medical liaisons that are out there with our patients, with our doctors, with our healthcare practitioners. And they're the frontline people getting the information. So the system to try and get that information back into the company and to have a system to process that, analyze that, that is really, really difficult. Then when the bigger the company is, the more people that are involved and the more different departments that you have. So it gets more and more complex. But the important thing is no matter how big or small your company is, we all have to meet the same legislation, which is very difficult, because if you're a small company, you still have to have all of the processes, all of the procedures, all of the systems there available to be able to meet the regulations. And as everyone knows, the changes that are coming down the line are so huge that we all, no matter big or small, are going to need a lot more resources, and it's going to cost a lot more money to deal with these changes.
So it's great point. So now let's clarify also one point. So post-marketing surveillance is already something that exists now. It's not something that is coming with a new regulation like the Medical Device Regulation. It's something that is already existing with the current MDD. And it will be, if I can say, changed. I don't know if it's on the right or the bad way, but there will be some changes to this with the new Medical Device Regulation. Is it correct?
Yeah, so it's quite complex to answer that question, I suppose. So from, again, this is from personal experience also. The post-market surveillance is currently a requirement, and a lot of the aspects that are appearing as new right now are not new. They're already in existence. Mm-hmm. The problem is a lot of post-market surveillance hasn't been enforced, or is only kind of in maybe the last 3 or 4 years starting to be enforced. I have worked with several notified bodies over the years, and their assessment of post-market surveillance is extremely different. Some notified bodies have required very little, haven't even looked for a post-market surveillance procedure, and then some are more stringent. So the amount of changes you need to make currently to your system will depend on really what you have been doing to date and how much proactive surveillance you have been carrying out. How is it integrated in your quality management system currently? Again, that will ease the transition for you if you have a post-market surveillance system very well documented, a system working well in your quality management system at the moment. Then you just need to tweak it to make sure that you can meet the new requirements that are there. But as I said, not every manufacturer will have been carrying out proactive post-market surveillance, because it's like you put it down to the risk of your device.
But so what you're mentioning, so can we say that the requirements for post-marketing surveillance are not really changing, but the scrutiny that will be done by the notified body will be higher? Is it that?
No, there's several changes, but I suppose how a company manages these changes will depend on what level and what kind of assessment they've been under before from their notified body or the competent authority. And across Europe, it's been extremely different to date. So there are some huge changes coming down the line. So there is the requirement for a post-market surveillance plan and report. The post-market surveillance plan is a requirement for all devices, and there's quite a detailed description on what you should see in this plan. The post-market surveillance report is for Class 1 devices. The rest of the devices are going to be required to have a periodic safety update report, a PSUR. Now, if you work in the medicinal field like I do, along with the device field, you will be familiar with a PSUR, which we currently have for medicines, but this is new for the device world. The PSUR for Class 2B and Class 3, it needs to be updated annually. So this is huge amount of work to be updated annually. Class 2A every 2 years. You have the clinical evaluation report, which you already have. You need to have a clinical evaluation plan. So clinical evaluation plan report, postmark surveillance plan report, and a PSUR. Then you have your post-market clinical follow-up plan and your studies, your plan and your report from that as well. And this has to be updated annually also. So whereas you would have been updating maybe your clinical evaluation every 3 years, a lot of companies would have been just updating your clinical evaluation every 3 years, and maybe your risk documentation every year or as necessary. Now you have all these different plans and reports that are all legal requirements. There is detailed descriptions on what a lot of them expect to see, and they all feed into each other. And then you have the summary of safety and clinical performance for Class 3 and implantable devices also. This is another new document. A lot of these documents are going to be required to be submitted through EUDAMED, which is the electronic system. So that's another huge change and huge complexity. A lot of the post-market surveillance and vigilance activities will be required to be submitted through EUDAMED. So again, how are you going to work that into your system and your process in your company? How is that going to fit into your procedures? How are you going to access this system? How are you going to submit through this system? How are you going to verify that this is the correct way to gather the information, analyze it, submit it? It's extremely complicated. Plus, all of these plans and reports, they all feed into the technical documentation, and they are constantly required to be updated, and they all feed into each other. So again, how do you ensure that all your procedures are all feeding into each other? The whole system is feeding into each other, the process. So I've been in companies, and get asked lots of questions, and, post-market surveillance can be seen as an isolated, area, or, standalone task that you need to do in the company, but it's not standalone. This is actually, it feeds into every single documentation. Your procedures for corrective and preventative action, should be assessing all of these. It needs to feed the post-market surveillance into this procedure, into your risk procedures, into all your QMS procedures, not just a standalone post-market surveillance procedure, which currently a lot of companies would have only that. And, I can't speak for, all the companies all over the world, but, feeding it into your system is quite difficult. And I know a lot of companies over just recently in the last few years will be trying to establish a process feeding it in. But now we have the MDR, and it's not just, it's a regulation now. So it's there in black and white for us to implement this, and to have, when a notified body or competent authority comes in to audit you, you need to be able to show all these procedures. Whereas in the past, a complaint procedure, vigilance procedure, and maybe even a lot of people would have talked about their PMS activities in the risk management procedure, and maybe nowhere else, not even had a standalone. So the difference is going to be huge. You're going to have a huge amount of procedures that you've never had, but it's not good enough just to have procedures. They all need to feed into each other. The system needs to work. How you need to analyze this data. How are you going to gather it? It's all completely different.
No, it's clear. And what is interesting on what you are saying is the fact that I hear a lot of people that are asking me also to say, Munir, do you have a post-marketing surveillance procedure? Do you have this kind of thing? Which for them, as you mentioned, they think that it's an isolated system. When you hear what we just said, so it's connected to nearly everything. So it's like an octopus that is really connected to all your different systems. And if you don't have the correct different systems, so building a post-marketing surveillance procedure is not really maybe the right way to start this. You have first to build all your system before to just plug this one to all what you have already. And a point that is also interesting that on what you said is about the new need to use EUDAMED now for all those reports and things for class 3, I think, products. And because we talked about that also, I think, with Richard Oulian when we had this podcast episode related to EUDAMED, and he was also mentioning that there is a huge work to do for companies that will be using EUDAMED, that will feed EUDAMED also with all those systems, and to provide the right information, to validate the information, and to make that available to the notified body also. Because I think when they will put that in the EUDAMED system, it's the notified body that will review that and then accept this or make you give you comments. So I don't know. Yeah, this is mainly a new era or new things that will happen, and we'll see if it's working correctly. So we can say that there will be a lot of work for the medical device manufacturers that are still, if I can say, on the previous version or previous mindset related to the post-marketing surveillance. But I suppose there is also a lot of companies that really don't understand that. So I hope that today they will really understand. But can you help us also to really make that clear for them? What are the difficulty or the tricks or regarding the implementation of this post-marketing surveillance, or what maybe are some ideas or tips that you can provide to them?
Yeah, of course, Munir. As I said, I've worked in big, small, medium companies. So I've been involved in post-market surveillance, as you call me, the post-market surveillance queen. So I have a huge passion for post-market surveillance, and I really want to help everybody else. And, you know, what I find works or what I find doesn't work or what I've tried out. And there's so much complexities into having a successful post-market surveillance and vigilance system. One of the main changes I didn't actually discuss above was in relation to vigilance. So currently, the maximum time we'd have to report in an incident will be 30 days. Mm-hmm. However, with the MDR, this is now changed into 15 days. So this is huge. Like, this is massive. It's cut time in half. Like, you know, if you have a big company and you have a lot of adverse events coming in, you know, to be able to deal with that in a space of 15 days is very, very hard and very complex. You know, 15 days is a short period of time, especially if you have affiliates all over the world, global teams, your complaint system is global. It's extremely difficult to deal with that. And to get the information that you'd need to even report that in 15 days is very, very tough. But it's there in black and white, and we now need to find a way to fix your system to be able to meet these regulations.
Not only fix your system, also make your management understand that, because I was participating also to all those vigilance reporting things. So you have kind of an escalation process where you open first an NC maybe, then a CAPA, then you move up to gather all the information needed, as you mentioned, for the vigilance. And you have also the committee with the management to say, yes, we have maybe to make a field action to recall and this and that. So there is a lot of strats, if I can say, in big companies to arrive to a decision at the end. So it's also a question to have also the people available to take decisions and then to move forward related to that. So it's not only procedure to change, it's also mentality or mindset of people there to really understand that now the time is shortened, so they have to go more quickly and to make things moving forward quickly.
Yeah, definitely. It's very important for everybody, but of course for top management to really understand the requirements of post-market surveillance and vigilance. You know, a lot of top management would see post-market surveillance as, you know, a cost that's adding no value to your company. You know, where's the money coming out of this? So it's a very tough department to manage when you are responsible for post-market surveillance and vigilance, because you have to really show the benefit of it as well, which there is also benefit. You know, it can improve the quality of the product, you know, reduce costs for other devices you're developing in the future. Also, you know, it can help you with the design of that product and you won't make the same mistakes again. It eliminates your risks. So there is also, you know, pros to the post-market surveillance as not just a burden to your company, but again, it's very hard to get that across sometimes to top management and get them on board for post-market surveillance and vigilance. And as you said, the vigilance, yeah, all aspects of the post-market surveillance, but especially the vigilance, it's very, very short turnaround. And, you know, another huge complexity there with your vigilance and your complaint reporting system is you will try and ensure that your complaint and vigilance procedures are able to suffice for each of the markets that you're in. But then you face the huge challenge that each country differs, their regulations differ, then their global reporting requirements differ, their definitions differ, their reporting timelines differ. So if you look, for example, at the moment at Australia, so there is 10 days for an adverse event. Brazil is 3 days. Okay. We have Canada 10 days. We have Japan 15 days, and we have the US 5 days. Okay. And we have Europe currently at 2, 10, and 30, and now we're going to 2, 10, and 15. So, you know, how do you ensure that your procedures around complaints and vigilance are able to cope with all of these different definitions, these different reporting timelines? What is required is different. So post-market surveillance is defined completely different in all our countries across the globe. Adverse event is different, recall is different. So you have to ensure that, you know, the terminology you use in your own company, say for example a serious complaint or a non-serious complaint, is able to be able to meet each of these requirements in each of your country. Not only that, but you have to ensure that whatever process you put into your company for, again, going across to all the parties that need to be involved in a complaint or a vigilance assessment, that it's going to be able to meet these requirements timelines. If you have 3 days, like, you know, that's extremely short to be able to meet that. And with all the parties you have, plus you'd need sign off from maybe the CEO or the COO as well. You can't just act yourself. So it's extremely complex. So I find the vigilance one really, really, really complex. My advice to companies out there will be to look at your own complaint and vigilance procedures and systems that you have currently. Will they be able to cope with the new MDR requirements? How are you performing at the moment? Are you able to meet each of your reporting timelines? If you are, then you should be able to add on and to be able to meet the new EU MDR requirements. If not, you're going to need to look at it. So do a decision tree for each market and see how that works, and maybe have like a top level SOP and then put the decision trees in the back for each country. So you'll refer out to Appendix 1 for Canada, meet this decision tree. But again, you need to still ensure that your global procedures for the reporting is the same to be able to meet whatever you have defined in your decision tree. So it's quite complex, but I think the vigilance, you know, the changes there are extremely complex. Another big aspect is that, so a lot of manufacturers will try and extend out, or are trying to extend out, their CE certificate so that they don't have to comply to certain aspects of the MDR until maybe 2021, 2022, whenever their certificate is up. So most manufacturers are obviously trying to do that right now. So the problem is that different aspects of the MDR are going to be required and mandatory at different times. So if you're working on updating your procedures to meet one area, then and you're not planning to conform to certain parts of the MDR until maybe another year later, how do you manage that in your system? That's extremely tough to do. And then obviously if you have Brexit in the mix, which I currently do as well, you have to factor in the Brexit vigilance complaints, then you have your MDR, then you have your different requirements. So the new MIR form, the new Manufacturer's Incident Report form, is mandatory from January 2020. So the MDR is May 2020, but we have the new vigilance form, a requirement from January 2020. Also, on top of this, on that form, you have your UDI, you need to put in your UDI, you need to put in your SRN number, your single registration number. You have to now code your events in accordance with the IDMRF the IDMRF coding that they have issued. So how do you do this? How do you code these events? This is becoming into force in 4 months. Like, this is no time at all. So you're going to have to overhaul your vigilance and complaint system to be able to meet these requirements, not for May 2020, but for January 2020, because they're becoming mandatory. So this is a huge complexity. How are you going to be able to manage to do each of these? And again, we're waiting on more guidances and templates to be issued at the moment in relation to the MDR. So we can't wait. You have to be, at the moment, doing what you can and changing your system and implementing these requirements, because, as I said, for example, the vigilance is mandatory from January 2020, but EUDAMED won't be in. So and we're supposed to be submitting them through EUDAMED. So, these are massive challenges.
Yeah, it's clear that when I'm hearing you and when I'm hearing also some guests that I had on the podcast related to different areas of the MDR, there are really a lot of work to do, not a lot of time, and apparently the deadline are, if I can say, the implementation cannot be done. Even if you are ready, sometimes they cannot be done because you are waiting for the EU Commission to, for example, for EUDAMED or for some templates or from some guidance, etc. So there are really a mix here of confusion or for manufacturers, because some wants to do but they cannot, some doesn't want to do but they will be hitting a wall at one point. So there is really some kind of let's add to that not all the notified bodies are ready now, so it's also something that puts more complexity to the equation. But can we say that if you haven't started now to put in place your post-marketing surveillance new system, if I can say, or think about it, or put in place a strategy, you are already late, or there is still a chance for manufacturers to still meet the deadline?
No, you're never too late. It's just that it's going to be tougher, and a lot of companies don't have MDR task forces, so this is extra on top of your everyday work and everything else that's going on. And if you have Brexit to worry about, that's in 8 weeks' time. So from my personal opinion, every one of my SOPs from pharmacovigilance and regulatory affairs for medicine devices is impacted by Brexit. All my SDAs, all my reg agreements. So I have Brexit, I have MDR, but I have everything else on top of this as well to deal with. So these are extra on top of everyday work, and that's the same for a lot of people in a lot of companies. So whereas it's never too late, you need to get started now. And as I said, you can't wait for anything more guidance or anything more to be issued. As I explained for vigilance, like, we know the MIR reporting form is becoming mandatory in January 2020. Get your complaint and vigilance procedure out. look at the additional guidance that was issued in the last few weeks from the European Commission on the MedDev. Implement that, ensure your system is able to match that. Ensure your system is changed to meet 15 days rather than 13 days. You don't have to make it complex. If you're in a small company and you don't have global departments all over the world, affiliates all over the world, implement it now, see what's going to work. Make sure you are, you have your SOPs, anything that's a requirement, make sure you have it in there, small things like, not just reporting to the competent authority in the country where the incident happened, you know what I mean? Like, ensure you have things like that, where the legal manufacturer is as well. Make sure you have, to notify your notified body, because obviously EUDAMED is not going to be in by January 2020 for a submission of your serious incidents and your field safety corrective action. So it's still going to be submitted as it is at the moment. But, just ensure there's so many, for in the past, for vigilance and post-market surveillance procedures, more so complaint and vigilance procedures, because that's what would be audited over the years, and for ISO 13485 2016 as well. So make sure that you have all of your requirements from all of the necessary areas, factored into your procedures, and that your system can cope whatever way your system is, if it's electronic, if it's a manual, whatever system you have in place. Again, that will depend on the type of company you have. I've worked in both systems, electronic and manual, for the vigilance and post-market surveillance systems, and just ensure that whatever way you have it at the moment, that it's going to be able to cope with the new requirements and the reduced time reporting in EU.
So one thing that is important also for people to understand, we are talking here about post-marketing surveillance, and you will be also participating to the TOPRA Symposium in October 1st and 2nd, where you will be giving more, or a group of speakers where you are will give more information about post-marketing surveillance and maybe answer questions of people there. So is it correct?
Yes, I will be speaking at the TOPRA Symposium. So I am leading and chairing the post-market surveillance session at the TOPRA Symposium. I have been on the working party, the Medical Device and IVD working party this year, organising the symposium. I really look forward to everybody speaking and all the panel discussions, because it's a really rich filled agenda. As I said, my session will be post-market surveillance, and I will be joined with Anne Tobin from the HPRA and Caroline Dore-Gertie from the NSAI, where they will be given their perspectives from a competent authority and a notified body perspective. So that's what we really want to all hear at the moment. Like, we're all reading, okay, the PMS plan should have this, the PMCF plan should have this, the system should be able to do this, but really they are going to be the ones assessing us. So what are they going to be looking for? Okay. I'm really interested in the PSUR myself, because I have one for medicines. I want to see, what level, it high level, states at the moment what they expect to see in a PSUR. But I really am excited to see what the notified bodies and the competent authorities are interpreting that they expect to see, and what they will be looking at when they're auditing us or they're assessing our files.
No, it's great. So you will be there. I will also be at the TOPRA Symposium, so you will see me then. And we'll try also to make a session again with you and talk about another topic, which will be Brexit, because as you said, you will be hit by Brexit, and I think a lot of the people there will. I think there is a specific session during TOPRA Symposium about Brexit, so I think it will be really interesting. But yeah, we'll still meet together there and have this discussion about Brexit and what people or what manufacturers should do to prepare for Brexit. So yeah, and if people want really to also meet me at the event, it's at this Topra Symposium. So I will be there. I will be at the booth number 27, if I remember, from the company Report SS. And then we can have really a discussion there and discuss about the different events or discuss about the actuality of the regulation. And as I've said, so Natasha will be also there, and we will have this small interview about Brexit, and we can really have a good discussion because I think she has also a lot of things to say about that. Okay, Natasha. So something else for the audience?
You just in relation to Brexit, yeah, I will be speaking and on the panel about Brexit as well. So I'll be quite happy to share my challenges that I am currently facing and have been facing with Brexit. So it's a tough daily Brexit workload in my life at the moment. So on top of everything else. But that's coming first before the MDR right now. So need to plan and prepare for both. So yeah, as I love to see anybody and speak to anybody at the Topper Symposium. Happy to help any company that, especially small manufacturers. I know how difficult it is from a small manufacturer's point of view to even understand what the legislation is saying. When I worked in the HPRA years ago, it's actually the reason why I have such passion for postmark surveillance. An elderly man phoned in to ask some questions. He had just had an audit and he had been manufacturing a device for years before, I suppose, regulations were in place. And he was naming out different parts of the directive saying, and what does this mean? And what does this mean? He couldn't understand any of it. And he goes, what's this system and processes and actively? I don't understand what it means. So I said, oh, give me a call back and, you know, I'll go and do some homework and see how I can help you out. So, you know, he didn't have a procedure in place for even vigilance and complaints because he said, oh, sure, I don't get anything back. And, you know, like this was 10 years ago, but he... you know, we would have had ISO 14971 come in since then and 13485 2016. So I'm sure he's struggled since then. But I really got a passion then to try and help, especially small manufacturers, or even, you know, I get questions from Medtronic and Stryker and, you know, anyone, just like one small little tip can mean the difference to you. So anything I can help with, I love to help people, or it's good to, you know, discuss different things. Do you think this will work? Or, you know, I've implemented things, you know, previous companies to try and see if it would work, or maybe this would be a good idea for proactive postmark surveillance. But, you know, the one really important thing that I would point out, that it's great to implement these things, but you have to be able to make it work and has to be part of your quality management system. That's quite difficult, because you can have all the ideas in the world to implement great things for post-market surveillance, but they need to be able to be part of the system. You know, it's integrated into your quality management system. So you have to be able to analyze that feedback you get. You know, you need to be able to trend it. You know, you need to have, you know, stats in place to be able to ensure that you're able to analyze that data correctly, and that's also adding to complications.
Yeah, so it's clear. So, and I think we are sharing the same passion for helping people. It's what I'm trying to do also with my blog, with my podcast, and with my YouTube channel. So I hope that all the questions that we are trying to answer here will be helping a lot of manufacturers and small manufacturers also, because we know that it's a difficult time, difficult situation for them with a lower budget. So it's really important then also to help and to really make things simple. It's why I call my website Easy Medical Device, to make it really easy for everybody. So yeah, it's great to share that together. Okay, Natasha, so it was really a great time with you. So thank you for all your help. Thank you for all the information you were sharing with us. I think it's really valuable for everybody to really understand what is a post-marketing surveillance. So Natasha, I really thank you and I wish you a nice day.
Thank you, Munir. It's great to be part of your podcast and I wish you a good day.